Noise floor is a measurement of all the noise when you're trying to record something. For example, right now my voice, that would be the signal that you're trying to capture. And everything else in this environment that is getting picked up is the noise floor. And if I simply stop speaking, the signal will shift from my voice to the noise floor.
I think props. Ideally, for an ensemble, them being next to each other would help, but I think if we practice from the beginning with them not.
Noisefloor is a collaboration between Palaver Strings, Little House Dance, and Courtney Swain that involves a new commission by Courtney and a dance collaboration with Little House. Palaver has done dance collaborations in the past, but not with a company and definitely not with this craving to create something from the beginning.
Before we put out the call for composers, I created a mood board of images of different landscapes. We put that forth with a description of what the State Theater was like and asked the composers to kind of imagine like you're in this space, and these are some of the colors and textures and things that will be happening, and then ask the composers to imagine like what they would create.
Person, if you want to just like feel that in your sternum and then also in your palms.
I enjoy leading projects and coming to the table with ideas or concepts or things that I'm thinking about. But for me, the exciting part is being in dialogue with other artists.
So what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're feeling. Courtney and Heather in particular have thought a lot about those concepts in their work, and Palaver hasn't ever really, because we're really tied to one sense, hearing.
It's sort of an experiment of melding music and dance and creating a piece that's sort of a question mark. All of the piece needed to be written before anyone really ever played a single note. And to present that to the biggest ensemble that I've ever worked with, to see what happens, I feel like that's a risk, and it's been scary. Yeah. It feels collaborative, where we're all kind of aiming and shooting for this idea. And we've all been kind of separately, but together, building towards this one idea, whatever that means for each of us.
So there are portions of the music that we will be reading. There are portions of the music that we will have memorized. Courtney has also built in vamping, she's built in, free improv, she's built in sort of a combination of both, in which we are able to step away from what we're physically seeing and just sort of create from our brains.
This is something I want to tell you. Matt and I are down to have our instruments picked up.
Like from the end pin?
From the end pin. So
the dancer picks it up.
By a dancer.
Okay.
So it would be something we'd want to talk about and show them, but just there's a really solid connection at the bottom, and we can kind of still play.
We had to fill out a poll of what is your comfort level with being touched by another person while you're playing? What's your comfort level of being touched by another person while you're not playing? Are you comfortable with being lifted? Are you comfortable being lifted while you're playing your instrument? Those are challenging questions, because I know that all of these really different ways of being on stage are sort of on the menu. But discomfort in the presence of people that you trust, I think that's at least that works for me. We'll see what happens.
One of the things that I think we're all most excited about is kind of blurring the line between who's a musician and who's a dancer, so that if you saw this group of people standing on stage and they didn't have their instruments, they would look like they're all part of the same ensemble.
I think the fact that the musicians aren't trained dancers makes everything more interesting, and in a way, like more free, because there are less expectations and less rules about the way you're supposed to look and how you're supposed to move. It means that we have to listen to each other a lot more.
There's a lot of improv scores, not only between the dancers, but also in the musicians. So I think sometimes you can feel the uncertainty in the room. I think it's really just been trusting the process and trusting that things will work out and really just enjoy the art that we've been creating.
We're always thinking about how the audience fits in to what we're doing. Palaver's never been a fan of like musicians on stage, audiences over here. Like we've been trying to get rid of that invisible line forever. And Little House and Heather, you know, have the same thought.
There's one part in the piece where the dancers kind of join the musicians, and we call it like a rhythm train. And there was a couple of people, before we had even done it with the musicians, and been like, Heather, I'm really nervous about the rhythm train. Having to recalibrate and like step out of that role of like what you would traditionally do on stage as a dancer and then enter into the music space was something that was like very new for all of them. It meant that they needed to like offer up some trust to the musicians, that the musicians were going to be like a safe space for them to be in.
You know, one person, Tim, one of the cellists, we were sharing sort of our intentions going into this one part of the piece, which is entirely improvised, where it's called 4 p.m., but everybody's on stage really in the middle and moving through space and trying to make connections. He just says, you know, I've never done anything like this in my life. Watching him from that background and how much he was really being vulnerable in the space was incredible.
Everyone had to prepare a little bit differently, but the common ground was vulnerability and empathy and human connection. It was a pretty magical experience.
My hope is that people who are comfortable going to a concert are going to come see this and find themselves also at a dance performance. And people who are comfortable at a dance performance are going to come to this and find out that they're also comfortable at a concert.
I am just so grateful. I feel like I made really beautiful connections with so many people. It inspired me to create more. And I think that's the sign of a really healthy collaboration.
My hope is that Noisefloor will inspire more people in the community to want to go and see live performance.
She gave in to you.
Good job. That was beautiful.
This project started with actually Palaver Strings reaching out to Little House about wanting to do a music and dance collaboration.
I really felt the power of the collective voice and the strength of everybody who was involved in it, really wanting to contribute their voice as individuals, and then also wanting for the collective voice of the project to be strong and to be something that could be heard by the audience. It will hopefully inspire more of the presenters or more of the venues here to see that there is an audience for this in Maine. And so now it feels like there's more to do. It feels like we uncovered something and there's more behind it and more that we're excited about.